Welcome to Declassified Live. Great to see you guys. We were off yesterday. There was a holiday in Canada. I believe it was Civics Day. And I learned that by doing some research on the internet of all places. You believe that? Now, I need you guys to keep me how our stream is looking, how our connectivity is having a lot of problems. What's going on is they've been pushing up in the area where the studio is, and it's really thrown our web for a loop. It's made things really, really difficult. And so I want to bring you guys a top quality show. It's just when we're dealing with this, when we're dealing with I won't say the name of the company that is our internet service provider, but I will say that it has been really, really difficult since they started putting these new lines in. There's some kind of bottleneck, and they're coming out again this week to re-diagnose the problem. I had them out here for a few hours to try to get this all fixed, but for some reason what I'm showing here locally is apparently bottlenecking on its way out at the hub, is what they're telling me, which is causing you guys to get a bit of a distorted stream. So I've got them coming back out tomorrow to re-diagnose this. Really been a pain in the neck. But that all being said, a lot of problems. Remember, you can always super chat, by the way. I want to take your comments. We're going to be talking a lot about social media, purging, banning, punishing conservatives. I want to remind you guys about super chat. You can make a small donation. You can you'll pop your chat, your question will pop to the top of the screen, a nice bright box, and we'll be able to say all great things about you and take your question first. Now, unfortunately, one of the things we deal with here is I'm next, buddy boy. You think they're going to ban me, Turbo Jones? Bye-bye, YouTube. It's over for you. All right, guys. So here's the thing, right? Here's where I'm torn. All right, I'm a property rights guy. And you've got YouTube, and you've got Facebook, and you've got Twitter, and you've got Apple, the iTunes Store, and you've got Spotify. And you know where I'm going to be going with this. And they're all private companies. So at the end of the day, they are absolutely free to do whatever it is they want to do. They're free to do it. Look, if Twitter tomorrow said, hey, John Zealand, how are you, my friend? If Twitter tomorrow said, we don't want you, Cardillo. We don't want you. We don't like your content. We don't want you. That's their right. All right. That's their prerogative. They can do that. And I have very little recourse. But be honest about it. I would much rather Jack Dorsey over at Twitter, Mark Zuckerberg over at Facebook, whoever owns YouTube, whoever runs YouTube, I don't know. I would much rather them say, look, we're a private company. We don't like conservatives. We're going to do this to you. End the story. If you don't like it, leave. Blue Apple says, yes, but it was technology built with taxpayer money, DARPA. No, it wasn't. These are private sector, venture capital funded entities, and they have every right to not like conservatives. But admit it. Don't sit in front of Congress and say we're a fair platform, we accept all voices, we treat everybody the same, and lie to America's face. Look, it didn't matter that Zuckerberg sat there and was less than forthright with Congress. He wasn't under oath. He didn't even have to show up. And quite frankly, I think if he would have fought the subpoena, he probably would have won, because Facebook isn't a regulated business. By the way, like my mug, Facebook isn't a regulated business. But admit it. Look, admit it. Now, look at the incidents I'm talking about. Now, you guys know on the show that I say I don't watch Alex Jones. I don't buy into InfoWars. I have tons of problems with Alex Jones and his conspiracy theories over the years. However, I will fight to the end for Alex Jones's right to disseminate his content. I don't have to agree with Alex's content. I don't have to watch Alex. I don't have to acknowledge Alex. But it is chilling that they would try to shut him down. Now, he's been banned from Facebook. He's having his content pulled from the app stores, from Spotify. It's all to silence him. They're saying, well, it's in the name of hate speech. But that's nonsense. That's nonsense. Alex Jones has moronic conspiracy theories. He said things about 9/11 and Sandy Hook that I think are incredibly distasteful and earned him a permanent unfollow from me. I'll never watch his stuff. But credit where due, he's got a lot of things right. He's gotten a lot of things right. He's turned out some good work. He's got some people who work for him who turn out very good work. They have a right to be heard, to be disseminated. Now, again, the places he's being banned are private sector entities that can ban, but be honest about it. Facebook shouldn't say that they're banning Alex Jones because of hate speech. They're not. They're not. They're banning Alex Jones because his content leans too far right. That's why they're banning Alex Jones. Now, you saw the flare up, the dust up on Twitter the other day, right? Where Candace Owens decided to replicate Sarah Jiang. You've seen Sarah Jiang from the New York Times. Sarah Jiang has Sarah Jiang, put out all those principle and vile stuff. Candace Owens takes Sarah Jiang's words, literally word for word, and simply changes white to black. So I like the same thing Jiang said about white people. Candace Owens was immediately suspended from Twitter for 12 hours. All right? Immediately suspended from Twitter for 12 hours for doing nothing more than replicating what Alex Jones, what Sarah Jiang said. Now, not only was she banned from Twitter, she and Charlie Kirk from Turning Point USA go out to brunch in Philadelphia and they get attacked. They get attacked for having lunch. Now, think about this. Pre-Civil Rights Act in 1964, the Democrats were the Ku Klux Klan. They've come full circle. Democrats are now kicking black women out of lunch counters. We're back pre-Civil Rights Act with racist Democrats. We're back. When LeBron James, I excoriated LeBron James for saying that we're back in the Jim Crow era. He's right. The Democrats attacking Candace Owens proved it. Black women can't even have brunch next to white people because racist Democrats will attack them and their white lunch partner and kick them out of the restaurant. Do these morons on the left not see the irony? So Candace Owens gets suspended for using Sarah Jiang's exact words, but because she inserted the wrong race. Great irony is Candace Owens is a black woman, and for making comments about black women, tongue-in-cheek, of course, sarcastically, to prove a point, she's suspended for 12 hours from Twitter. Now, Twitter reinstated her a little bit before that because conservatives lost their minds and just collectively bashed Twitter, tagged Jack Dorsey, and Twitter had to backtrack. Now, Twitter, of course, did what it always does. They said, well, it was a mistake and it's an algorithm. And give me a break. It was an algorithm. An algorithm didn't catch Sarah Jiang's tweets. An algorithm didn't catch the tweets of the black gangbangers who called for my death by name when I defend police and police. No, it's not. It's human intervention by far leftists. And if it is an algorithm, well, a human programmed that algorithm. They wrote that code. And they knew what they did. They pre-inserted a bias into the code. It's ludicrous. It is simply ludicrous that we've got to put up with this. All right? But it is what it is. It is what it is. So does it surprise me that Alex Jones was banned? No. Are there going to be more conservative personalities and entities banned? Yes. Now, Democratic Senator, let me see if I can find it. Democratic Senator Chris Murphy from Connecticut. Now, this is a really, really left-wing guy. He wants to seize your guns. I'm going to pull some of his tweets. This is what Chris Murphy, a sitting U.S. senator, a man who took an oath to defend the Constitution. This is what he wrote on Twitter only 14 hours ago. So last night, about 9 p.m. Eastern. InfoWars, about 5 p.m. Eastern yesterday, InfoWars is the tip of a giant iceberg of hate and lies that uses sites like Facebook and YouTube to tear our nation apart. These companies must do more than take down one website. The survival of our democracy depends on it. This is a sitting U.S. senator advocating for censorship, advocating the shutting down of dissenting speech. This is chilling. This is a guy who wants to take your guns, who wants to crush your rights, who says you should be regulated. Right before that tweet, this is what he tweeted. I know Facebook and Apple and YouTube have gotten so big they sometimes seem like the government, but they aren't. They are private companies that shouldn't knowingly spread lies and hate. They took a good first step by removing InfoWars. Did they remove Sarah Jiang? Did they remove the Washington Post, the New York Times? You notice how he doesn't call for them to remove any of the left-wing institutions, any left-wing media? No, they want to purge conservatives. Now, remember, what is this? What is Murphy doing? What is the left achieving? Do you remember when Nancy Pelosi was Speaker of the House that Nancy Pelosi wanted the fairness doctrine, which would limit conservative speech? Well, that was shot down. The Democrats are getting it. They're getting it now through their like-minded cronies in Silicon Valley and the mainstream media. That's what they're doing. They're imposing, via the private sector, a de facto fairness doctrine to shut down conservative speech. That's what they're doing. It is disgraceful, disgusting. But again, they're private companies now. One of the things people have to stop saying is start a conservative social media, start a conservative Twitter, start a conservative Facebook, go to Gab. It doesn't work like that. It would require hundreds of millions of dollars in investment and years to build the awareness, build a platform, work out the bugs. Gab, it's got a few 100,000 users. It has no utility for media people where we need to disseminate a message to the masses. There just aren't enough I don't want to say high profile, but there just aren't enough people of significance using Gab to make it worthwhile. I haven't been on Gab in a year. I have a verified profile over there because it doesn't have any utility. It's all the same people complaining about Twitter. It doesn't have any utility as an information dissemination platform. Maybe it should have, maybe it could have, but I think they also let on some of the wrong people and focused on them, and the quality people moved away. So it would take a lot of money and a lot of time. We need to pressure the companies that exist with our dollars. We need to do what the left does. We need to find out who Facebook's biggest sponsors are and pressure them. We need to find out what companies the big data aggregators who buy from Facebook sell to and pressure them. That's how you make change in the economic. You have to hit their economics. You have to hit their bottom line. That's how you do it. It's the best way to do it. It's the only way to do it. Now, look, I don't want these companies regulated. I don't want Facebook and Google regulated. I don't want Twitter regulated, but that's on them. I am seeing some very compelling arguments, though, that Twitter and Facebook are potentially in violation of FEC, Federal Election Commission guidelines. And the reason is pretty simple. If you're Twitter and you place a value on your platform and the value of information dissemination on your platform, you say, okay, if you're going to advertise and your advertisement is going to hit this many verified accounts and this many accounts in these regions, well, we're going to charge you X. And they begin to internally allow one candidate whose political ideology is more like theirs, more access to the masses on Twitter than they do the candidate on the right. Well, it can be construed as a donation. and an unreported donation, and they could have FEC problems. Now, got to dig into that a little bit more, but it's I've worked on campaigns for a long time. It's a very compelling argument. Very compelling argument. And I think an argument that needs to be made more often. I don't like involving the FCC and the Federal Trade Commission because at the end of the day, I'm a free market guy and I don't want to see regulation. So let us regulate. Like I said, Facebook's real money is in selling your data. Find out who the big aggregators are. They're probably Axiom and LexisNexis, and we know Cambridge Analytica before they ceased operations. And I'm going to dig into that, and I'm going to do a show on who they are. And then what I'll tell you is who those big aggregators sell to. Maybe it's a retail chain. Maybe it's a supermarket chain. Maybe it's the auto industry. Maybe it's the sporting goods industry and their retailers. And when we find out, that's who we put pressure on. That's where your Twitter campaign goes. Hey, auto company ABC, we're boycotting your product because you get data from Facebook via this data aggregator, and their Facebook is purging conservatives. They're biased against conservatives. And let's play the left's game. Let's be smart about it. Let's find out where the money trail goes. Follow the money. Let's follow the flow of the revenue. And that's how we put pressure. Because as conservatives, I don't want the federal government stepping in and being big brother, being my bodyguard. I don't want that. That's a knife that cuts both ways. It's a knife that cuts both ways. I don't want that. I don't want that because then they come back and they regulate everything. They come back and they regulate everything. Now, somebody brought something up. I was going to talk about it tomorrow, but it's Tony Kretz, Topsy Kretz, a good distraction from that Chinese spy working for the Dems, huh? This is a story that requires a lot of detail, and I want to cover it all tomorrow. But Senator Dianne Feinstein had a Chinese spy on her payroll for 20 years. Did you see that? Top of Yahoo News? Is that trending on Twitter? Is Facebook blasting that out? I'm going to tell you all about that tomorrow. All about that tomorrow. Truck My Ad says none of this is free market. No, this is exactly the free market. The free market allows a private sector entity to discriminate. It most certainly does. I own a bar. I should be able to say no one with red shirts can come into my bar. I don't like red shirts. I hate them. No red shirts allowed. As long as I'm not discriminating based on race or gender or a disability, I should be able to discriminate. Now, political ideology is not a protected class, and I don't think it should be. I don't think anybody should be a protected class. Anybody. I think a business should be able to discriminate against whomever they want. If they don't want white men in there, tell me I can't come in. And that'll mean that the majority of America, the highest earners in America, white men, will not patronize your establishment, probably go out of business. So discriminate against me. I welcome it. I don't like protected classes. I don't like hate crime laws. No life is worth more than another. There should not be an enhanced sentence if one race is killed over another. That is the ultimate in discrimination, telling one race you're worth less than another. So this race, for killing someone or beating someone of this race, you do more jail time than for that race. That is the most discriminatory thing on the planet. Affirmative action is ridiculously discriminatory. We're going to promote you on the basis of your race. That is the definition of discrimination. You're going to get a job over this candidate, even though they're more qualified because of your race. That is the epitome of racism. Truck My Ad donated, said, enjoy the show even if I don't agree. Truck, I love that. I love that. I want you here if you don't agree. Debate. Argue with me. Love having you here, Truck. Thank you very, very much. Pleasure to have you every day. Hopefully every day. But see, this is what I'm talking about. We want this debate. Discrimination comes when government steps in and says, that race is entitled to more than that race. That gender, that orientation is entitled to more than that one. It's ludicrous. So that's why I don't want regulation of these social media platforms. Look, you discriminate enough. There's going to be a backlash. 63 million Americans voted for Donald Trump, okay? Many, many more support him today. There are conservatives all over the world. I've been ranting today, so what I normally do is I watch my chat stream and I see where you guys come in from. But every day it's South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, the UK, Scotland, Ireland, Asia. You guys come in from all over the world. All over the world. Jay Cahill's in from Ireland. How you doing, Jay? George Watt's in from Canada. Now, you come in from all over the world. There are conservatives all over the world that access these platforms. These platforms will suffer. They'll suffer. Austria's here. Cromwell. Awesome. UK in the house. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Flat Wind Flyer from the UK. Some of these names. Stefan's in from Denmark. Nicole from Arizona. Hey, Nicole, how are you? See, we've got people from all over the place coming on in. Now, here's the thing. Let's see. Poland, Switzerland. This is so cool. I love watching this. Australia's waking up. New Mexico, Quebec. Wow, fast and furious. They're Germany, Michigan, more from Ireland, Kingston, Ontario, Canada, Denmark. You see what I'm saying, though? South Africa. Conservatives are all over the world. The Netherlands. I've got Ray Raoul from the Netherlands. Got MS1 from North Korea. North Korea. Wow. That is impressive. Pyongyang? Or in a suburb? Are you in a bedroom community of Pyongyang? So my point is, and you guys are seeing, you're watching the chat. Antarctica. Tony's in from Antarctica. Stay warm. Stay warm. You and the guy from North Korea should share some stories. All right, but you get my point, right? You get my point. People are coming in from all over the place. We got Jimmy Lee from Kentucky, Maine, and there are conservatives all over the world. So these platforms suffer, right? They don't need to just be U.S. based. That's why it's not going to matter if the U.S. FCC or the FEC or the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, regulate them. Not going to matter if they regulate them because it's a worldwide thing. It's the World Wide Web. Access to this. So by purging conservatives, by trying to silence conservatives, they're hurting themselves. But like I said, we've got to be smart. We've got to play the left's game. Now, they think that they're impervious because of the data game. It's a bit ambiguous, right? A bit ambiguous. But I worked in that world for a lot of years in law enforcement, after law enforcement, tracking bad guys, bought ridiculous amounts of data. I know how that trail works. So I'm going to be digging in. I'm going to really be digging in to who they sell their data to. Because make no mistake, look, you go on these platforms for free. All right? Nothing in life is free, boys and girls. They're selling your data. You agree to that in the terms and conditions. And I don't mind that they're selling data. They've got to make money. Nobody's forcing you to upload stuff. Keith McIntosh, $50. Damn, Keith. Thank you very much. Test. D said something important. She's talking about the Broward school races here. And we've got a big school board race coming up in Broward County. It doesn't mean a lot to you guys from around the world. It goes to the censorship issue. I want to touch on this. The terrible Parkland shooting, right? Robert Runcie, the school's chief in Broward County, newspaper for publishing a report on the shooting, which makes him look bad. Now, Robert Runcie, the school chief in Broward County, a guy whose ineptitude, whose inaction led to the Parkland shooting, he was found to be quite liable in this report, made look very bad. He's a far-left Obama Democrat from Chicago. He's suing local media for daring to publish the report, a public report funded by taxpayers. Much like Chris Murphy from Connecticut wants social media to silence conservatives. My name is Love, says your feed is lagging. I know, we're trying to work that out. It was great for most of the show. Now we're having a little problem. Hopefully it'll come back. We got them coming back in tomorrow to diagnose the issue. But see, this is the thing with liberals. They want to silence dissent. They don't like dissent. You know why? They've got no message. They've got no message. None. Now, John Doe says YouTubers have a hard on because Alex is gone and you all will be next. So I don't know if you're a troll or if you make it. Who cares? Who cares? Lupin says Stream lag is good. It means the AI is watching. Yeah, but you know what? It's annoying. It is annoying. We had a really great stream. I don't know why we keep running into this problem. It's just annoying. Really, really, really troubling. Let's see what's going on here. Let's take some comments now. Wow. Got a lot of them. Somebody said, where is Trump? Trump, you should stop Facebook, Google, YouTube as they are breaching laws and silencing and censoring free speech. They're not. They are not. You don't have free speech on a private sector platform. This is what I try to explain to conservatives. You have no freedom of speech on YouTube. It's a private sector entity. You have no freedom of speech on Twitter. You have no freedom of speech on Facebook. You have freedom of speech in the public square, in the public arena, not on a social network, or a platform owned by somebody else. You don't have freedom of speech there. Joe Moss says it's antitrust, but it's not. It's not antitrust. Anyone is free to start a new platform. If customers don't use it, it's not antitrust. Antitrust means when one company is so big that they go out of their way to crush others. No one would stop us from starting a social network. Gab exists. Twitter did not Gab out of business. People just chose to use Twitter, not Gab. That's not antitrust. It's not antitrust. Facebook took CIA In-Q-Tel money. In-Q-Tel is CIA's venture capital arm. After they started, Facebook is a publicly traded company. So there's a lot of bad information out there. These are not First Amendment violations. These are not antitrust violations. Just because a company grows, because people choose not to use other social networks. Look, Facebook was the little kid on the block. MySpace was bigger. Facebook was more user intuitive. People moved over to Facebook. That was it. There were other social networks. Success is not antitrust violations. An antitrust violation. People throw these terms around, but they're not accurate. I hear freedom of speech, First Amendment. You don't have one on a private platform. They can shut you down for any reason. You agree to that in the terms and conditions. That's what you agree to. Daniel Barker says, not much, but every little bit helps. Keep up the good fight. Rebel, he donated £5. It helps. And we thank you for your support. Right-wing platforms do not support businesses that support these platforms. Support the little guy, Neil Williams. Well, yeah, but you know what? You're never going to grow to critical mass being a little guy. This is not going to happen. John Zealand wants to know if the Rebels going to have a party when we reach 1 million YouTube subscribers. It's a good idea. We'll have to bring that up with Ezra and the crew. It's outrageous. They would do it, especially because they lied to do so. For Western civilization, I'm assuming he means ban people like Alex Jones. Let's see. They will be coming to shut down the Rebel next. Well, or call the Rebel. Probably going to fight him. Let's see. Fluorescent says there must be a legal action against governments, Google, YouTube, and Facebook and other platforms that silence our opinions and truth because it's inconvenient and does not suit their interest or agenda. No, first of all, government is different than private sector. If government shuts down your free speech in a public place, you do have recourse. If private companies do it, you don't, and you shouldn't. I'm a property rights fan. So the way you pressure a private company is to go after their revenue. You go after their revenue. And let's see. Truck My Ad says they won't shut down the conservatives. Nah, they won't. Why would they? They're their allies. They love each other. They're buddies. They hang out. They hang out on those Bill Crystal cruises. Cromwell says censorship of the free media is spreading worldwide. The only conclusion you can draw from this is that the world order is showing its teeth. Yep. The globalists want to shut down. Let's see. The private sector only answers to, that was a good comment, answers to shareholders only, or investors if they're private, which is right. That's why you go after their revenue. NLGHTN donated. Government officials use it. Needs to be run like a utility. Thanks for the donation. I completely disagree. I don't want to see private entities run like utilities and regulated. It sets a terrible, terrible, dangerous precedent for business. A terrible precedent. Very dangerous. Nigel, why has InfoWars shut? Well, they haven't shut. They've been banned from Facebook. They still have their own website. Time to regulate social media like power companies. Disagree. Do not want to see regulation. Conservatives don't want regulation. Let's see. Why is Hillary not rotting in prison? Ozman asks. Because there's a different standard of justice for the Clintons, don't you know? Very different. Andrew Bursack is right. See, if you regulate private business, then you over-regulate. It's exactly what we don't want. Dead Frontier says, what is your opinion about Obama's interference and unneeded comments towards the new government? Does this set a precedent toward anarchy in the U.S.? I think Barack Obama needs to shut his mouth. He was the worst president in history. The worst president in history. Keith McIntosh gave us more Mexican millions. Help me understand. Trudeau wants something, a $4.5 billion pipeline, send $50 million to Palestine. No way to stop. No, what is barrier to wall? Lot in there. Look, Trudeau's a disaster. He's your Obama. The barrier to the wall here in the United States are the Democrats. That's the barrier to the wall. John Doe is a troll, so we're going to block John Doe next time he comes around. All right. Ozdab McGee says, because the jails refuse to lower... because the jails refuse to lower standards and accept Hillary as an inmate. Yeah, she's going to bring the neighborhood down. Hillary comes to jail. There goes the neighborhood. Hillary's here. All the other inmates are really embarrassed about being in jail. They don't want to tell people where if she's on their cell block, they lie about living in a different cell block. Yeah. Let's see what else we got here. Then why are power companies regulated by the government if regulation is bad? Because power companies are given a legal monopoly. That's not the case with social media. Anyone is free to start a new social media entity. Let's see. In public domain and YouTube, Facebook are public domains, and they must... That's not accurate. That's not accurate. Not in the U.S. anyway. Not in the U.S. Not in the U.S. Not in the U.S. Just not the truth. In the U.S., the First Amendment applies to government. It doesn't apply to the private sector. Doesn't apply to the private sector. Will Gibbons says, what do I think about Tommy Robinson being free? I think it's great. I think it's sad that he's still got to face charges, that he's only out on bail. I think the whole thing is silly and moronic, but such is life in the UK. I feel horrible. Joe Moss is arguing with me saying it is antitrust, whether I want to admit it or not. It's not antitrust. You're free to set up success is not antitrust. What you're asking for is nationalization and socialism of industry, for the government to come in and take over companies that are too successful or regulate them. No. Take that back to whatever countries do that. That's not America. That's not America. Let's see. InfoWars pissed off the CIA. Now, that's not it. They're just too right-wing. Believe me. You guys are confusing public entity with publicly traded company. A public entity is not a publicly traded company. A publicly traded company is still a private entity. It's just owned by the shareholders. MX says, let's see, it wasn't an MX. He's making me, I'm going to be very wealthy in Mexico. Keith McIntosh says, makes no sense. GOP rules Congress, Senate, and presidency. This Canuck just doesn't understand. Well, because in the Senate, we've got that dumb rule where we need 60 votes and we only have a 51 majority. So the Democrats still can hold things up in the Senate, not in the House. Barb says, great show. How can we pressure the private sector to give speech? What would help? Like I said, so what we're going to do is we're going to look at who Facebook, Twitter sell their data to and who those large data companies sell that data to. That's who we pressure to stop buying. And I'm going to be doing a lot of research on that and bringing you those answers. Neil Williams donated again, £5. Thank you, Neil. Thank you too, Barb. We appreciate it. Let's see. Bush Ninja says, I say they are privately owned and they all take government subsidies. Every company does in the form of tax breaks and all. It doesn't make them nationalized entities. I got to tell you guys, I'm kind of concerned with how many here would like to see business nationalized by the government. That is not a conservative position. Not a conservative position at all. Yep. This is a great comment. Frank Vanderpit says, social media pride themselves. And this is a really good comment by Frank Vanderpit. He says, social media prided themselves on being just platforms, not publishers, not so long ago. You're right. Now, all of a sudden, they're publishers who are going to police their content. That's a great, great, great comment. Let's see. There are other platforms. They may be small, but folks need to support them when the big boys misbehave in order to hold them accountable. Yes, and that's why it's not antitrust. These other platforms exist. That they're not successful is on them. Look, I vehemently disagree with Facebook's politics. I vehemently disagree with Twitter's politics. But what I don't disagree with is their success. They did something right to get billions of collective users. I'm never going to condemn a company for its success. That's un-American. That's un-American. Dirt Dog says, got to tell you, I'm concerned with your defense of these monopolies. They're not monopolies. A successful company, just because you don't want to use these other entities, does not make a certain entity a monopoly. It doesn't. Because you got to remember something. If you let them regulate today, tomorrow they regulate the gun industry. They regulate your cell phone so that government software is on every cell phone. You guys don't understand the Pandora's box you want to open with regulation. You do not understand. You want every gun registered back to the owner. You want the gun companies to have to make only one type of firearm that serves no purpose. Open the door with this kind of regulation to the private sector. No good. No good. No regulation. Let the free market work. Right now, what the free market is telling us is that Facebook and Twitter are offering a better service than the other guys. Now, it's up to the other guys to be smarter, to figure out what Facebook and Twitter offer, what they don't, exploit the vulnerability, and do what they do better. That's what Facebook did to MySpace. And they won. So someone else can win. That is not a monopoly. That is not antitrust. That's the free market. And that's what needs to be done. You don't blame Twitter because the engineers over at Gab turned out a product that's not user intuitive, because they marketed poorly, because they cultivated certain people on the platform who had ideas that the mainstream, bigger name figures wanted to distance themselves from. They made engineering and marketing mistakes. That's not Twitter's fault. Somewhere out there is a very smart person or a group of people, and they're going to crack that nut. They're going to figure out how to make a better social network, and they're going to succeed. Maybe they're conservative. Maybe they're liberal. I don't know. But leave it to the free market. Do not regulate. Now, good question from Andrew Bursack. What are my thoughts on Facebook wanting to tie bank info to their platform? I think it's chilling, and it should never be allowed under any circumstance. Never be allowed under any circumstance. Free market is legalese for bigger needs. No, free market is free market. It means we decide, we vote with our dollars. That's what the free market means. That's what the free market means. The BBC is a fake propaganda brainwashing news channel. Why would anyone buy a TV license? Well, look, the BBC is state-run media. That's what happens when you get state-run media. And the funny thing is, I see many people saying the BBC and the CBC are dishonest and then calling for regulation of U.S. companies. Do you want government-run social networks and media? And check nationalist, I'm not Ezra, I'm John. Ezra's got a different show. Let's, okay. Far right and far left opinions of free speech here in America. Yep, they are. Yep. Facebook is owned 20% by Zuckerberg. Yeah. Bill Gates only owned about 30 some odd percent of Microsoft. And then he even sold more of that off. Let me see. Let me go through. We have so many. We have so many comments today. Alex is back. It was all a stunt, Howard G says. No, Alex, listen, Facebook InfoWars site was never taken down. That people misunderstood that. They were banned from Facebook. Their programs were pulled off of iTunes and Spotify. People are mistaking that their site was brought down. Yeah. Right. So Charlie Brownow says, good point about regulation. It's like Microsoft Windows Office. People have a choice to use Linux on PC. No one forces people to use only Windows. Exactly. Just Windows was easier to use. It was a more intuitive product, so more people bought it. Other options exist. You choose not to use them because one product works better. It's that simple. That's not a monopoly. That's not antitrust. People confuse that. They confuse that. New content will not be allowed either, I believe, for InfoWars. Well, they're gone. So it's not new content. None of their content, historical, archived, or new. They're gone from those platforms. They're gone from those platforms. Somebody's saying the Alex Jones YouTube channel got deleted too. Oh, okay. I didn't know that, but I guess so. Let's see. Bring down the NWO, the New World Order entities. Well, we're trying. We are so easily programmed. It's all laid out ahead of us. They laugh at us. Cars in space. Don't know what that means, but I like the idea of cars in space. J.K. Hill, we are getting banned for bloody silly reasons from Facebook. Yeah. Yeah, well, look, like I said at the beginning of the show, the rules are very arbitrary, incredibly arbitrary. And as a conservative, you just got to be careful. You got to learn their game, learn how to play it. Let's see. UK censorship is alive and well. Yep, it is. Yep, it is. Once any other company becomes a real threat, then the larger company will acquire the smaller one. That's why we need to keep the market fair. But the smaller one doesn't have to sell. See, that's still not a monopoly or antitrust. If I start a company and I do so well that Facebook comes to me and says, I want to pay you $2 billion, there's no gun to my head to take the money. I'd be a dummy not to take it, but I'm selling freely. The market made me successful. A competitor or a partner in business decided I was valuable enough to add to their portfolio of brands and wants to buy me. They're not crushing me. They're not drowning me in lawsuits to bankrupt me and put me out of business. That would be an antitrust problem. That would be a monopoly problem. They're coming to me and saying, hey, you're doing really well. We want to give you a lot of money to buy you. I'm free to say, no, we really like running the business, or I'm ready to retire. Pay me. That's the way the free market works. That's the way the free market works. And it's called an exit strategy. Most people start companies with an exit strategy in mind, to either be acquired by a bigger competitor for a lot of money or to go public. You don't start a business just to work the rest of your life and run it. You want that big payday where you can go and sit on your yacht and do nothing. Libertarian position is privatization of roads. How would that work? Would government have to sell the roads to people? And wouldn't that one person have a monopoly on the road, or example? Yeah, that's why those will never work. Libertarianism for social issues is wonderful. I subscribe to much of it. But when it comes to infrastructure and defense, it falls down with no real solutions. So there are places for government, but in a very, very limited fashion, in my opinion. Then explain when government broke up the phone company because they were given the monopoly and then it got too big. Czech nationalist says, John, could you tell me if you think America became a constitutional presidential state? I'm from Europe, so I don't know. No. We're a constitutional republic, and our constitution gives the executive branch many administration-based powers. And Donald Trump is exercising them, but it's in line with the Constitution. I don't see anything happening that's concerning Quite frankly, even with Obama, he stretched them, but he acted within his authority for everything but Obamacare and immigration. Let's see. We got a lot of comments coming in. Whoa. I can't even read it. InfoWars is still live streaming. Yeah, well, they're still up. They're just banned from certain platforms. Nobody took their site down. Let's see. What if some people owning lots of shares told him to kick Alex Jones off or sell those shares? That's the free market. If I own the majority of a company and I say, I don't like that guy, I don't want him involved with our company, that's how it works. That's how it works. Well, somebody, Zola, I don't know how to say it. Zola Doggy. Why haven't we the people got together yet and started our own social media platform? Easily done. Where are you getting the money? Where are you getting the back end infrastructure? Who's coding it? Who's the project manager? Who's paying their salaries? It's not that easily done. It takes a lot of money, a lot of zeros to build that. All right. So John Doe, we know, is a troll, and John Doe just wants to. So let's see. John Doe is gone. Bye, John Doe. Goodbye. Bye. Nigel says, what has InfoWars done that's so bad? Nothing. Well, they've done some dumb conspiracy things, but nothing to be banned the way they were. They were right-wing. They were right-leaning. That's all. That's all. Let's see. NLGHCN says, taking Gab off Google App Store to keep Twitter the top dog isn't antitrust or just private company. Well, it is. It is. Because it's the App Store. They're a private entity. They can take any app off they want. They don't have to leave you on there. And I've got some issues with the way Gab is run. I just think they gravitated toward the wrong people. Again, the whole it's free speech works for Gab on Gab. That's their right. But they've got to understand that that doesn't extend to the places where they sell their product. Now, I can disagree with it, but it doesn't surprise me why it happened. Truck My Ad says domain registrars do that too. Yep. But again, they're private entities. They can do that. Look, you got to understand that you live in a world where corporate marketing people tend to swing left. All right. And because they tend to swing left, and Truck, thanks for the donation. Because they tend to swing left, they're going to infuse that bias into the minds of corporate management. And so that's why you're getting these problems. That is why you're going to have these problems, you know? Let's see. Let's see. Chrissy says Alex is usually right. That's why he's censored. Oh, it's more than that. No, it's that he's right-leaning and he's fiery. And you got to understand. The left is desperate. They see the Democratic Party's falling apart. It has no message. None. Let's see. Alex Jones will win his defamation case and these non-monopolies will pay. Maybe. I don't know what his defamation case is. A private sector entity removed him from their platform. Frustrated left-wing lower judges, especially Obama's leftovers from the Ninth Circuit, are more in control than the Trump administration. Temporarily. Good point. Temporarily when they rule in favor of illegals and bad guys. But eventually it'll get up to this Supreme Court, which is now pretty conservative and ultimately will win. Let's see. No message, so shut up conservatives. Madness. Oh, you're saying that the Dems have no message, so they shut up conservatives. Yeah, it's pretty much it. Castroy54 says the greatest threat to freedom comes from the left. I agree. I couldn't agree more. Let's see. Libertarianism is the final solution. Libertarianism is very weak on defense. We live in a dangerous world. Non-interventionism is a very noble and ideal concept. Doesn't work in the real world. Let's see. Democrats and MSM going crackhead crazy. Yep. Gail Kochman, Ohio Republicans vote today. They do. Get out there and vote for the Republican. Kathy Madsen donated $5. Thank you, Kathy. You have a question? Kathy, if you do, just let me know. MS1 likes my mug. You like that mug? Yeah. It's my Don't Tread on Me mug. I bought 2 of those because I figured they might be taken off the store shelves. Let's see. Yeah, my libertarian mug. Yep. Hey, listen, when it comes to stuff like that, all day long. But I'm not a non-interventionist. I think we've got to kill the bad guys over there before they kill us over here. It's been working for 17 years. I'm not a fan of wars, but I also don't want to see 3,000 Americans, Canadians, Europeans die on their own soil either. So I'd rather kill them over there. Contact info says, am I from Canada? Nope, I'm the Rebels American guy. I'm down in Florida. From New York, down in Florida, almost 15 years. Yep. Came south, palm trees, sun. It's been rainy. Wendy Payne says, Tommy Robinson for Prime Minister. I don't know if Tommy'd want that job at this point. I don't know if he'd want that job. But England could do worse. Andrew Bursack says, historically, the Democrats have been on the wrong side of history. Well, they were the party of the Ku Klux Klan. They were the party that opposed the Civil Rights Act in 1964. Yep. They certainly have. The Democratic Party sprung from the Confederacy, the Dixiecrats. So they really have been on the wrong side of history. Let's see. Do I like Bernie Sanders? God, no. That crazy old communist? Nah. No. Dude, if some ghetto thug kills you, media won't care. No. They probably won't. And I was responding before we froze up to Truck My Ad, said, dude, if some ghetto thug kills you, major media won't care. Now they won't. Hey, listen, they tried. I was a Bronx cop. They failed. Let's see. Do I watch Trump rallies? Gail asks. Yeah, of course I do. I've been to several down here in Florida. It's actually a good time. They're pretty fun. Let's see. Bernie is okay. Just don't talk about politics. Nothing about Bernie is okay. Bernie Sanders, a communist. He honeymooned in communist Moscow back in the 1970s when Russia was our most aggressive, bitter enemy. Nothing about Bernie Sanders is okay. Greetings, John. I want to visit a Trump rally. You should go to one. They're pretty fun. Oh, we've got a flat earther here. We've got a flat earther. That is so silly. So silly. Question anyone, do private companies inside the USA not have to follow the USA's laws like we have here in Europe? No, of course they have to follow our laws. Of course they do. MS1 asks, how hot is it in Florida? Here in London, it's boiling. It's been pretty hot. It's been in the high 80s every day. I mean, it's August in South Florida. But I'll tell you what, it hasn't been as unbearable as it was last summer. So we're hoping we don't have a bad hurricane season again, but typically we get 2 bad ones in a row and then we're okay for about 10 years. Last year was pretty bad. I'm guessing this year might be bad as well. Yeah. Let's see what else. Will they arrest Obama soon? Obama's not getting arrested. Don't believe that nonsense. Neither is Hillary. Don't believe those Q conspiracy theorists. Hangman John Ruth. Good morning, John. Good morning, Hangman. Good to see you, man. You're in late today. Yeah. My name is Loves. It's hot everywhere. It is. Florida's been pretty hot this summer, but it's been nice in the evenings, and went out about 6:30 Eastern this morning, walked my dogs. It was pretty nice. You could tell that it was just getting hot. The sun is pretty brutal, though. Sun's been pretty brutal lately. Question, what do I think about the situation in Venezuela? I think it's tragic. I think that whole Maduro assassination thing, it looks to me like he did it himself. It was one of the most amateur attempts I've ever seen. It certainly wasn't the U.S. trying to whack him. If we wanted to whack him, he'd be dead. Yeah. No fires in Florida, hopefully, Nigel says. No. Because it's been we've gotten rain every day. And so even though it's super hot here, we've gotten a pretty strong rain every evening or early morning. And typically this time of year, one coming through in the afternoon. So the Everglades out in those areas that could burn, they're wet. They've been enough. That's not happened. But yeah. Let's see what we got here, guys. So the stream is getting a little bit. Stream is starting to lag a little bit. So rather than have you guys deal with that, like I said, the stream is starting to lag a little. Rather than have you guys deal with that for the last 5 minutes, I'm going to end it up now. I will be back with you tomorrow morning, unless they're here to put the final fixes on this. They're supposed to come a bit later, but if they make it earlier. Here, I got one more paid-for comment by Keith McIntyre. So anytime the president wants to spend an amount of money that represents a rounding error in the overall budget, he has to get Dems on his side. If yes, that's crazy, why make any promise? It's a little more complex than that with deals the president can cut and already funded things. We need to go back to a simple majority in the Senate. That's something President Trump is working on. He wants that. Kathy Madsen says revoking Section 230 protection for YouTube and Facebook help. Maybe they would fight it tooth and nail. I don't think it would happen. They would fight it tooth and nail. All right, guys, I'm going to end on this note so the stream doesn't. We only have a couple of minutes anyway, so the stream doesn't cut out on you again. Be back with you tomorrow morning, 7:30 a.m. Eastern. Thanks so much for being with me. Love being with you every morning. Thanks for watching, guys. See you tomorrow.